Hey folks, and we're back, and we're looking at the inside of the RecTech Mini. If you read what we're doing here today, we are replacing the hot rod on my RecTech Mini. Now I've only had this thing for about 6 months. I don't know, how long they're supposed to last. A lot of it is up to how often you use it. So, when I first got this thing, I was using it 3-4 times a week, and since then it's been at least twice a week. So, like I said, and the hot rod doesn't stay on the whole time you're cooking. It just stays on to get things going. The best I can tell, it's either timed or it's based on temperature. From all the issues, from what I've seen, and okay, maybe I should back up. How do you know that your hot rod was bad? Well, it starts blowing GFCIs. So what happened was I'd blow a GFCI every so often, wasn't a big deal. Then it got to be every time I cooked, below 200 degrees, it popped GFCI. And then it got to be 2 times every time I cooked. And the last time I cooked on this, it was 5 times by the time it got to pop and going, and once the fire is going, it works just fine. So, after looking back at the instructions, I said, well, it must be the hot rod. So, had some issues here. As you can see, I've got the firebox out. From my cooks, this side of the firebox warped, and it warped up like this, and it put a lot of pressure on this screw and this screw. You can see that screw is still in there. I could not get that screw out. I ended up cutting it off. The front 2 came out using an Allen wrench. This one I had to use an impact, and that one, the impact just rounded off the inside of the screws, so I ended up cutting it off. It's not a big deal. I'll be able to put everything back together. They do give you instructions when you buy the replacements. This is for the RT300 right here. You can see that it's not the best instructions, but I'm going to walk you through it. Like I said, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your power's off. Make sure it's been off for at least 12 hours. There must be some flux capacitors or some fancy things that hold a little bit of a charge in there before you start playing in electrical on this thing. And then underneath your pellet box, there's a grate. There's 4 screws on the side. Take those out. That's pretty self-explanatory. It says that in instructions. Like I said, taking the screws out of the pellet box, I wanted to do that first because I thought I was going to have a problem with it, which I did. Now the igniter rod is it's down toward the bottom of the pot. Pot out here, you got to twist it when you get it out, and you can see I got some pellets in there, and it's down in the bottom there. So before you replace it, kind of take a look at it to make sure, so you know how far it was out. There's an Allen. You just unscrew this set screw here. Let's see if we can get that out without any issues. Yeah, that loosens up okay. I mean, I really had to put a lot of pressure on these screws in order to get them out. They talk about making things not overly tight when you put it back together, but wow, coming from the factory, whoever put this together at the factory, really put it together okay. Just about got her out there. And you can see it don't want to come out. Alright, let me play around with this a little bit more, and I'll give you a look-see once I get it out. Alright folks, we're underneath here. This is not going to make any sense, but there's a bunch of wires, there's a bunch of zip ties you got to undo, and then there's 2 clips, and you can kind of see them up there that hold all the wires together. You got to kind of bend those out and then bring the whole wire package down. There's a wire in there that's got black and white on it. That goes to your hot rod. You got to undo that clip and then cut the clip off, and then that'll give you some slack that you can pull it through. But you got to take a close look as how it's fed, because you see the fan there. I know you can't see the wire, but the wire goes right past the fan there. So this is going to be a real trick getting this in. I almost wonder if we have to take the fan off. There's 4 screws holding it on. It says no, but we're going to give this a shot and I'll let you know. All right, folks, there's the new hot rod. You can see I've got some red electrical tape on there. What I did when I cut those wires, there's 2 wires. I cut them both. I fed one, pulled one out, and you know, if you're looking up there, you can see the fan. I did take 3 of the screws out of the fan. The 4th one was stripped. And I slid that out of the way. That way I could get my hand up into that pocket there. And then I used the other wire to pull it through. There's a little hole that has a grommet on it. You got to remove the grommet with your hands. You got to do it all by feel, and then pull it through. And now I'm going to pull it into the pot. So this is a little bit difficult to do, but now that I see how to do it, it's really not that bad. But it is. It's not. Don't think you're going to do this in 15 minutes. Give you a look-see on the top side. Well, here we are up on top. Let's see if we can pull that through. And of course, here's the end I cut off. And it's stuck on something. Let me see what it's stuck on and I'll get back to you. All right, that should be it right there. All right, there's the new hot rod. Here's the grommet that you got to take this off. The hot rod won't fit past it. It ain't going back on, I can tell you that. So we'll tidy this up. I'll get this one out of there, which is being very stubborn at this point. I don't know why it's not coming out. I'll have to play with that a little bit. And then we'll get this reinstalled in there, and I'll show you once it's back in the hot pot. All right, we got everything fed through. Here's the old. Here's what the old hot rod looked like. You can see it's all kind of burned out. I got the new one installed in there. I got the Allen screw tightened down. I got about a little more than a 1/4 inch of the hot rod exposed into the fire pot. So I'm going to start putting this all back together. I'm going to improvise a little bit and put another screw in there, probably just a short sheet metal screw to make things tight. And then I'll give you another look. When I'm doing the wiring, you're going to have to rebundle everything up in there, use some zip ties and make sure that it's not hitting the fan. So I'll give you another look when we're underneath there. Well, folks, there it is. As you can see, where there's smoke, there's going to be fire. And this definitely was a project. I don't know, RecTech should really make a video to show people how to do this. I couldn't give you all the details. If you folks are going to undertake this yourselves, I'm sure you probably will at some point with your RecTech Mini, and you have questions, feel free to text me or by all means give RecTech a call. This is their baby. They designed it. When you put the wires back together, make sure that you're watching the wires from the hot rod, that they are not interfering with the fan. You can see we got fire now. You just got to be really careful of that. You got to pull them nice and tight so they don't interfere with the fan, and zip tie it in place so that you know, there's not going to be an issue there. So once again, I hope this helps, and you know, I know it's a little lengthy here, but there was a lot to do on this. And as always, folks, really appreciate you watching. Thank you.